Welcome back to Brand Institute of Forensics and Security. This weekend we meet again. We meet again, and we shall be discussing lesson number 8, which is a security incidents. We are talking about security incidents in relation to emergency issues that have occurred, and basically what we shall be talking about is investigation part of the events that have occurred. This is what we shall be talking about. To begin off, we are going to say an incident. What is an incident? An incident. An incident is an occurrence that causes injury that was not planned for. An occurrence that causes injury that was not planned for. For example, you are working in a store, you are climbing a ladder, and then you slip and fall and you break your leg or your arm. That is an incident, an event that occurs. It was not planned. It causes injury. In other words, it is a dangerous occurrence or a dangerous happening that could have caused injury, but did not. That is another way we can also define it. What we call a near miss. And then we say the term incident will be used to describe both incidences and dangerous occurrences. So a dangerous occurrence is when something happened. It would have caused injury, but it did not. You slipped, you fell from the ladder, but you did not sustain any injury. You stood up and you continued to work. That is what we call a dangerous occurrence. But an incident, it is an unplanned event that causes an injury. What is an incident investigation? An incident investigation is the account and analysis of an incident based on information gathered by a thorough examination of all contributing factors and causes involved. Can you listen to that explanation? It is the account and analysis of an incident based on information gathered by a thorough examination of all contributing factors and causes involved. So you have to look at all contributing factors and causes involved. That is what we call an incident investigation. You want to find out what was the contributing factors and what was the cause that led to this incident. And the purpose mostly of investigating an incident, it is not only to find fault, it is to discover what went wrong and to take corrective actions so that similar incident does not occur again. Remember, we said an incident, it is an occurrence that causes injury, unplanned occurrence that causes injury. So if an incident is not investigated properly and the contributing factors are not established, it means room is left open for the incident to occur again and cause even more injury or serious injury or even fatalities. So the purposes of an incident investigation is to find out, examine all contributing factors, find out causes, and make recommendations for corrective action so that it doesn't occur again. Why do we investigate these issues? Why do we investigate these dangerous occurrences? We investigate them so that we put in place prevention measures. Prevention measures. Therefore, an incident investigation should determine what actually happened, determine the cause or causes of the incident, identify any unsafe conditions or procedures, help management to identify practical corrective actions, determines whether due diligence was observed, and we shall look at due diligence, show the commitment of management that an adequate investigation system is in place. You can see the reasons for an incident investigation. So when I ask you a question, why should we conduct an investigation into an incident, then you should be able to mention the few points that we have mentioned here, and maybe talk at length a little bit about them. The purpose of these activities is not to find fault or lay blame, but rather to identify the basic causes of incidences so that controls can be put in place to prevent further occurrences. Information from the investigation should be put on the record, but not used to discipline anyone. Information from the investigation should be put on the record, but not used to discipline anyone. This policy encourages witnesses to tell investigators everything they know. So once something has happened, somebody is injured, the point here is not to try to terminate people or to try to dismiss people or to try to discipline people, but the basis of this is to put information into the correct domain so that it can be examined and measures put in place to prevent such occurrences from occurring again. You have heard about the term due diligence, and I will read it as it is written here. Due diligence can be defined as whether the accused exercised all reasonable care by establishing a proper system to prevent commission of the offense and by taking reasonable steps to ensure the effective operation of the system. Simply put, due diligence means taking all reasonable care in the circumstances to protect the safety and health of all workers. Due diligence means taking all reasonable care in the circumstances to protect the safety and health of all workers. Due diligence. You must put in place all measures to ensure employees or workers are protected from sustaining injuries from incidents. That is what we call due diligence. Taking measures, putting in place reasonable measures to ensure that accidents do not happen, incidents do not happen. That is what we mean by due diligence. It must be expressed in behavior and attitudes in the workplace. It cannot be made up after the fact. The employer must be able to demonstrate their due diligence in an objective manner. A defense cannot succeed if the employer states that they intended to provide a safe and healthy workplace. The employer must give actual proof of real attempts to do so by demonstrating the measures that they were put in place. For example, if it is in the kitchen, the floor is slippery, the employer must prove that he has made an effort to put anti-slip mats. He has made an effort to ensure employees wear safety boots. He has made an effort to ensure that the floor is dried after cleaning so that people do not fall. The measures that will be necessary to prove due diligence in court will depend on the particular circumstances of each case. Underlying principles. Instances don't just happen, they are caused. Instances can be prevented if causes are eliminated. Causes can be eliminated if all instances are investigated properly. Unless the causes are eliminated, the same situation will occur. We have spoken about this. The basis of incident investigation is to ensure that we establish what happened, to look at the circumstantial factors that led to the incident, to look at the causes, and to put in place measures that will ensure the incident similar to that one doesn't occur again. That is what we call the purposes of incident investigation. Then there are other things that should be included in an incident investigation procedure. What should be included in an incident investigation procedure? Number one, investigation procedures for incidences must fit your needs. Ideally, they should state the objective of your investigation, find and correct root causes, who investigates what happens, what training investigators and incident responders should receive, who receives the written investigation reports. These are some of these things are usually outlined in the investigation standard operation policy for particular organizations, which are different It states the objectives of your investigation, who investigates incidents when they occur in the facility, what training investigators and incident responders receive, who receives the written investigation reports, who must fix defects found during an investigation. For example, security finds that um, um, the defects is that there are no anti-slip mats in slippery wet areas. So whose responsibility is it to fix this? Is it engineering? Is it human resource? Or who has the responsibility? And then who follows up on corrective action? Is it the Occupational Health and Safety Committee? Is it the top management? Is it the CEO? Who follows up to ensure that it is done? And what investigation reports and follow-up records will be kept, and where will they be kept? And then who keeps what documents and records? And then what summary and statistics reports are to be developed, and how often these reports will be prepared. Those are some of the things you have to consider when you are planning an investigation. And as I've said, these are usually outlined in the investigation policy. Every organization has a policy, standard operating procedure or policy that guides the investigation process. That if something goes wrong, it is security manager who investigates and then submits the report to human resource or submits the report to general manager, and what actions that the general manager take. Those are some of the areas that you have to keep in mind regarding investigation of incidences. What type of issues should be investigated? Instances where injuries have occurred or have the potential for injury or loss should be investigated. The degree to which an incident is investigated is dependent on its severity and the potential for it to reoccur. The degree to which an incident is investigated is dependent on its severity and the potential for it to reoccur. So, instances where injuries have occurred or have the potential for injury or loss should be investigated. All time loss injuries should be reviewed by the employer and all information provided to the Safety and Health Committee. In addition, the employer must ensure that the committee is involved in investigations of incidents involving the following scenarios. There is usually a Safety and Health Committee. This is under Occupational Health and Safety Act 2007. And this Health and Safety Committee should exist at every workplace. And its purpose is to outline in the Occupational and Safety Act to examine the premises, to conduct assessments, to ensure that the organization complies with the requirements that are stipulated in the Act. It is an internal arm that checks to confirm that the employer and the organization in general complies with the rules outlined in the Occupational Health and Safety Act of 2007. So the following issues that we are going to mention here are issues that need to be investigated. And these are death or serious injury. Death or serious injury. Serious issues include fracture of a major bone, amputation, loss of sight, internal bleeding, third-degree burns, unconsciousness resulting from concussion, kugongwa, electrical contact, poisoning, cuts requiring hospitalization or time of work, any injury resulting in paralysis, any other injury likely to endanger life or cause permanent disability. Those are some of the issues that must be investigated and documented and the reports submitted. Collapse or structural failure of building, tower, crane, host, temporary construction support system or excavation must be investigated. Collapse or structural failure of buildings or tower, crane, hoist must be investigated. An uncontrolled spill or escape of toxic, corrosive, or explosive substances. This is toxic chemical spills. Toxic chemical spill is an accidental release of a hazardous biological, synthetic, or radiological substance into the air, water, or land. Inhaling, drinking, bathing in, or touching these chemicals can pose significant health risk to the public, pets, livestock, and wildlife. See, toxic spill can cause significant health risk to the public, pets, livestock, and wildlife. Examples of toxic spills. Let's just look at an example. In the first 2 months of 2023, there were at least 30 potentially dangerous chemical spills across the US. According to the Coalition to Prevent Chemical Disasters, in every year since 1993, the US has reported more than 30,000 chemical and oil spills. It has reported more than 30,000 chemical and oil spills. You can find out at our level in our republic. Do we have these statistics? Do we have these reports? And if we have these reports, who is the custodian? Although the most recent examples of dangerous chemical spills come from train derailments, spills happen in a variety of ways, from accidents to natural events to sabotage. Some spills are small and harmless. Others are disasters that require emergency evacuations. Some spills don't require emergency evacuations. However, some spills are disastrous and require emergency evacuation. By emergency evacuation, people to be taken for treatment, people to be removed from a dangerous risk, to try and save life, and to try and protect people from danger. A little more about chemical spills. What causes chemical spills? Natural gases include earthquakes, hurricanes, fires, and volcanic eruptions. These are some of the causes: earthquakes, hurricanes, fires, and volcanic eruptions. Human-caused events include industrial accidents or unsafe handling, improper storage, failure of storage containers, and improper disposal. Those are some of the things that are involved in what causes chemical spills. Then, during volcanic eruptions, for example, significant amounts of carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, and hydrogen halides are emitted. Human activities such as oil spills can also release chemicals into the environment. So you can see human activities such as oil spills can also release chemicals into the atmosphere or into the environment. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration notes that these can be the result of ship collisions, fuel transfer mishaps, and catastrophic spill events. I try to go a little bit deeper into chemical spills because when we talk about issues that should be investigated, we mostly forget about chemical spills. And chemical spills are, as you can see, in developed countries like the US, between 1993 to a certain period of time, they reported almost 30,000 spills. And these spills, as we have seen, they can be catastrophic. They can cause serious damage to people and serious damage to the environment and animals, etc. For example, this is a situation where there is an oil spill inside the ocean, and you can see most of the oceanic animals suffer from these spills because they cannot again tap oxygen from the surface of the water. So you'll find that they end up on the shore dead. You can see these guys are removing some of them after there was a serious spill inside the ocean. Explosion, fire, or flooding. You know this very well. Issues related to explosion, issues related to fire, and issues related to flooding. In Kenya, you know about issues related to fire, you know about issues related to explosion, you know about issues related to flooding. These issues need investigation. All these situations need to be investigated. That is what we are talking about. These areas need to be investigated. Now, let's look at internal responsibility. Internal responsibility at the workplace. The employer and the workers share an equal concern in preventing incidents and ill health arising out of conditions in the workplace. The intent of the Safety and Health Committee representative is to enhance the ability of workers and employers to resolve safety and health concerns reasonably and correctly. I said each and every workplace should have an occupational health and safety committee with the representative chosen from various departments. And this is a mandatory requirement from the Kenya government. It is a mandatory requirement that at least every workplace there is, where there are more than 10 workers, at least there is a health and safety committee. So you ask yourself, if my organization, do we have a health and safety committee? And if we have a health and safety committee, who chairs this committee? And who are the members of this committee? And what's their role? Those are some of the things that you are supposed to know. So you should take note that every organization should have a safety and health officer who is required by the employer to conduct their own investigation if there is an issue happening within the firm or the enterprise or the organization. And in developed countries, these issues are taken with a lot of seriousness. Even in Kenya, things are changing where health and safety issues are becoming paramount and are becoming very important in all organizations. What causes incidences? Incidences usually result from unsafe acts and conditions. These unsafe acts and conditions often arise because of defects in safety and health program. A safety and health program by way of policies and procedures for organizing and performing work defines the safe standards. So where you have a safety and health program, then you will find that it defines safe standards of work so that people do not sustain injuries, accidents do not occur, incidences do not occur at the place of work. So find out from your organization if there is a safety and health program. Without a safety and health program or with a non-functional program, workers and supervisors must devise their own safety and health standards. Much is then dependent on an individual's experience, training, knowledge, and will to apply and willingness to apply safety and health standards on the job. So it is very, very important that people are well trained, people understand the risky issues that they can engage in, and people follow the rules and regulations stipulated at the organizational level to ensure people are safe. There are causes of incidences, and they can be broken into two. There are direct causes. What was the direct cause of the incident? What caused the injury? And then there's the indirect cause. What were the root or hidden causes that led to the incident? What caused the incident? This is direct cause and indirect cause and indirect cause. Direct cause, what was the cause of the incident? What caused the injury? Indirect cause, what were the root or hidden causes that led to the incident? What caused the incident? So those are some of the differences that you can take note of. And then factors to determine indirect causes. To identify the indirect causes of incident, the investigator will need to examine the obvious and underlying factors in the chain of events which took place prior to and during the incident. The model suggested here outlines a process where the investigator examines the indirect causes within each of the following 5 categories. So the model suggested here outlines a process where the investigator examines the indirect causes within each of the following 5 categories. Category number 1, the task. The actual work procedure being used at the time of the incident. Review the steps of the job. Methods of performing the task. Any change to the normal method of performing the task. Limitations and how and why it is performed that way. So this one, that is why I'm telling you, it is very important to have these documents at the workplace, so that if something happens and you investigate a matter and a dispute is brought or a dispute is raised, then you go back to the management, you tell them, look here, we have this policy in place that governs how we investigate these matters and what action should be taken. So it is very, very, very important for you to review the steps of the job, method of performing the task, any change to the name or method of performing the task, limitations, and how and why it is performed that way. This is outlined in the book. And then we see that material stroke equipment. Review the design of machinery, tools, and equipment and how they are used by the workers in terms of machine guiding, emergency stop devices, lockout, pinch points, design of equipment for use by workers, body positions to work, and demand such as repetitive work. Also consider the condition of materials used in the workplace. Some materials are not safe to be used at the workplace, and it is for you to identify which materials are these and get rid of them if they are at the workplace. For example, asbestos, due to its damaging effect on the environment, it is no longer used in many industries that manufacture various items using asbestos. It is one very, very, very dangerous material that has been eliminated from use at workplaces. Finally, we look at the workers. You have to consider the factors that affect the workers when performing the task, such as job requirements, experience and training, physical capabilities, emotional status at time of the incident, tired, stressed, pressures to produce etc., rushing, interactions with other workers, labor management issues, and hours of work, etc. Because these are what we call incident causation. Workers cause incidents. Incidents are caused by material and the equipment, and incidents are caused also by how the task is performed. So we should be able to streamline this so that workers know how to stay safe and the task is performed following the procedures in the correct way to avoid incidents, and also correct materials and equipments are used. Correct equipment and materials are used. So we have come to the end of this presentation. We will move to lesson, I think it is lesson 10. And then as we progress ahead, if there are any lessons I have not covered, I'm going to make my level best to cover them by Friday. I want to say thank you very much for listening to me, and we shall continue next weekend from where we are now. I believe we are taking the right direction. Remember to do the assignment, which I've sent to Chris again, and send it to me, because that will be part of your assessment. If you do not reach the standards, then very soon we will not be able to award you the certificates unless we are convinced beyond reasonable doubt that we have developed somebody who will be of benefit to his organization and also to himself. With those few remarks, I want to say thank you. We are going to meet again this coming weekend for our follow-up lesson. Also remember, the cuts are around the corner. So do some reading, do some research, do some revision so that you may pass the cut. Do the assignment so that you may get the marks from the assignment, the marks from the cuts, and then now you'll be ready to face the main exam, where we are going to see your talent and your ability to understand and manage these things. And then we submit the reports to the government that you are moving in the right direction And if there is an opportunity, then they will offer you the opportunity. Thank you very much for staying tuned. I will see you again very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.